Welcome, everybody. I am super excited about our Travel for Change series. My name is Jill Valentine. I am the founder and transformational travel coach at Yugo Impact. And today I am joined with Beena, who joined us on our Elevate Ecuador program back in May of 2023. So we're going to just dive right in and have a little chit chat about the transformational travel experience that Beena joined us on and find out more about what her experience was like. So Beena, just curious, what drew you to the Yugo Elevate Ecuador program?
Well, a couple of things. I think just getting involved in something that's different from the day to day, making a contribution where there is limited access to resources and support is always something that I kind of flock to. And I'm not going to lie, the Ecuador piece of it, being so close to the Galapagos, which we got to go to after, was an exciting part for me as well. And I will say, too, just with the programming, just kind of getting more insights into yourself, understanding, what paths there are available to you and exploring those. I'm at a point in my life where there's been a lot of transition, I'm going to say largely career wise, and have questioned, what am I meant to do when I grow up? And so it was just a timely trip to take advantage of to fulfill a lot of my desires in terms of, exploring myself a little bit more, exploring different parts of the world, contributing and having an adventure.
So you mentioned, this sort of transitional point in your life. So where were you, in your life, whether if you want to share, emotionally, mentally, career wise, physically, pre the trip, pre the program?
So pre the program, I mean, even years before that, a few years before that, I had built my career in a traditional kind of corporate setting, working for major firms in downtown Toronto, climbing that corporate ladder, and very rewarding experience in terms of developing a lot of skills, being exposed to different types of project work, teams. Totally don't take that for granted. But along the way, I just felt maybe this wasn't the ultimate fit for me and had explored working independently. So, as an independent contractor, as well as an entrepreneur that launched a consultancy with a business partner. So, I guess, being part of big firms, you do get a lot of support in terms of like professional development and, reflecting on yourself. And as an entrepreneur, you just don't have that time to invest your, resources to invest in that. So you have to kind of find unique ways. So this was an avenue for that, again, to kind of challenge myself beyond areas that I thought I could be challenged in or that were available to me day to day. So yeah, that's where I was. I did question, is the entrepreneurial path even the right path for me? So just wanted to gain kind of some more insights into myself, what I flock to in terms of interest and challenge. And it's a different way to go about it, but I think it is a good way.
I love it. So yeah, just for context, for those of you who don't really know exactly what Yugo is or the Elevate Ecuador program, it was a 3-month coaching container. So we did some calls and coaching beforehand, and then we went down to Ecuador. We spent a week in Canoa, a small fishing village on the coast, and we volunteered building a home for the groundskeeper of a school. It was in much need of repair. And so we did that for a week. And throughout the week, we did additional coaching sessions and cultural activities and just enjoying and being a part of the community. And then following that, we actually took the program, sort of the official trip part ended. We did go to Galapagos together. There was a group of us that traveled to the Galapagos. And then upon returning home, we did continue with more coaching. And so, Beena, I would love to ask, was there a moment or something that was really an unforgettable or powerful experience for you during the program?
Wait, 2 years back. Try to remember. I mean, and there were so many memories to pick one. I mean, I'm gonna say, just the pride in the physical work that we took on in intense heat, long days doing that, that's something that I'm not, I don't do. I sit in front of a computer all day on calls like this. So to get out of the comfort zone and just kind of charge forward in terms of what are our tasks for today, and then seeing every day getting them built upon was, yeah, really rewarding. I think, that just goes to show me, it went to show me that, that determination that we had as a team. It doesn't matter kind of what setting. I've worked in like high pressured environments, more from kind of a, administrative perspective. So in terms of a manual label perspective, I think that drive can, if you have it, it can go kind of in any type of work that you do.
Absolutely. And I loved how our team worked. I think we just worked so well together, like
Mhm.
ourselves, the local contractors, and just showing up every day. And yeah, like you said, laboring under the intense heat was pretty awesome.
Mhm.
What surprised you the most about the experience? Either the place, the people, yourself?
Surprised me. Yeah, okay. Is there anything that stuck out? I mean, I think maybe like following up with what you said in terms of the team working so well together. I mean, it's interesting because I do feel like we were a little family there. We bonded really quickly. I mean, obviously we're all like-minded folks, but then we collectively working together, so that makes the bonding experience. And then with the coaching and opening up with the folks, that makes it easier to bond. And it's just interesting. I'm obviously, we don't keep in touch as much as we do. When I see posts on Facebook, I'm like, oh, I know whose wedding this person's going to, or things like that. And it's still kind of that connection that you get. Did that surprise me? Not really. I don't know if it surprised me, but it's just it it was just refreshing to always have those experiences and having those bonding moments with folks.
Yeah, I agree. And some people that come on our program are sort of surprised at the depth of
Mhm.
sort of the bonding that does take place, but I love that word refreshing. I do feel that, going and just being immersed, like you said, we volunteer together, we coach together, we're like rooming to like, in a small, intimate place together, like all of that, and just how it adds to how we connect can be very different from the connections we form sort of in our day to day, in the workplace or just with, friends in the city kind of thing. So yeah, I personally think it's one of the best parts of the program,
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
beautiful bond. So I love, and I would, so how did the coaching impact your journey and experience?
Think, I was at a stage again of that transition coming from the corporate world. And I don't want to say it's like the facade, but you do have to have a certain persona that, and because it's so ingrained in your life and it's such a big part of your life, like working long hours and a lot of the pressure, that vulnerability side of you doesn't come out that much, and or you have to contain it. And I think, it was a few years since I've been in that environment, and it still was kind of shedding. So I think, the coaching was a little bit more of that catalyst for just showing a little bit more vulnerability and being comfortable with it. Again, it's an environment that's created in a way that you do feel supported and it's a safe space. So that definitely helps. But I think when I look back on that, there was, it's like kind of like once that's like kind of open, it's just open, and you're kind of like that with other folks and you don't even realize it. But I think, when you ask me that, Jill, and I look back, I'm like, yeah, I would say, I'm not saying that the vulnerability, obviously everyone has their vulnerability, but that gate was probably still up and not intentionally. It just was what I was used to. It was almost like the gate got stuck along the way. And I think, there was a bit of that shaking that happened and it kind of loosened up.
So how would you say your life has changed since the program?
Yeah, I think that's a big aspect of it. I think too, what's interesting too is, I guess, yeah, like what you said, like when I had a pretty kind of somewhat routine life, was kind of in the same team. extension of either social professional network, became limited. And I often get comments from people like, oh my gosh, like you can go and bond with people so easily and make friends so easily. And you're always meeting new people. And it's interesting because I don't question that. Like I don't think it's a thing to do. It's just who I am. And, so did it change my life? I think it's just made me recognize that that's such a benefit for me personally. It has worked for me. And it's no wonder that I, don't stop doing it. Well, I think it was in like that trip that people kind of, oh, you didn't know these people really that before. And I'm like, yeah, what's the big. And then I realized that, okay, yeah, this is not a comfort zone for a lot of folks. So again, it's probably settled, like just to embrace that about myself and not think it's, maybe in my circle, they think that, oh, that's very odd and strange. It's an outlier. And I think for me, it's like, no, it's not an outlier. Like to me, I don't see it as one, or I don't see it as something odd. Like I said, it's something that's just a part of me. And I think just what's changed is me being comfortable with that and being kind of proud of it, actually, to tell you the truth. Because I've gained so much benefit. And the trip is just one example, but it's happened in many aspects of my life.
Love that. And I think that that is a part of the coaching. Like some of it is, for some people, it is really discovery. Like, oh my gosh, I had no idea about this, and things can be very revealing. But I find a lot of it, it's just bringing to our awareness things that exist within us and maybe shining
Mhm.
a spotlight on it and kind of being like I had that feeling, or and it's not even that a behavior changes. It's just now you're sort of aware of a skill or a strength or a way that you are. So I really love that. And yeah, I get a lot of people who can be a little bit like, ooh, we're going with the group, I don't know anyone, and they can be a little hesitant. I'm also like, oh, they're the most awesome people. And I do feel that the program just creates an amazing opportunity to connect with others and like you said, opening up vulnerability, even though it is literally a group of strangers, by the end,
Mhm.
I feel like family. um yeah, I think that's an amazing skill to have, and I do see that in you for sure. I love it, and I love that it sort of just was brought to more awareness.
Mhm.
That's awesome. So what has stayed with you the most from the experience? Is there something that you think about often?
So you'll be proud to know this. I do have the gratitude journal. I'm not like a daily. It might be a few times a week. And yeah, I do enjoy it. Like I do like that piece and I see the benefits of it. It probably took place a little bit after, the end of our trip or in our coaching. But I think from that, I was like there was some time that passed and I had to kind of force myself to have the gratitude like every like when things were tough it's like oh woe is me and all this stuff and I'm like this is not me and so I like that's why I kind of wanted to form a more of a structured habit around it which I think yeah I do again it's so intangible to understand what the benefits are but it's just also reflecting back on your day and thinking about the good like I'm a strong believer now, like everything's meant to happen. And by having that kind of reflection of your day, you're like, okay, yeah, that was crappy, that whatever happened. Like I was stuck in traffic. But, I went to the coffee shop afterwards at this time, and I bumped into, someone who I hadn't connected with in a long time. And it's like, well, if there wasn't traffic, then, I would have not bumped into that person. And so, yeah, so it's really helped me kind of connect the dots and really kind of, yeah, it's expanded into more like faith, like the gratitude thing. Yeah, like just trust the process, trust, trust the universe. Yes.
That's amazing. Obviously, I'm a huge gratitude believer, and I'm also deepening all of the universe and faith and belief. So I love that. That is Awesome. Okay, so final question. What would you say to somebody who is considering joining one of Hugo's like travel for change programs, whether it's for, deepening sense of self or getting out of comfort zone? What would you say to somebody who is considering it?
I would say if you're looking for an adventure, something that will take you out of your comfort zone and push you to your limits, be open minded and try to be as much as yourself as you possibly can in the environment because you can, and just do it. You'll totally surprise yourself in the end. Don't think you'll have any regrets on it. I can't imagine. And yeah, have fun and yeah, learn more about yourself. And I think when you learn more about yourself, you love more about yourself, and it just grows from there.
I love it. I feel like that's half of our messaging is just like when you know yourself, life is just more enjoyable. You, like you said, you love yourself more, you can love life more, you just know what makes you happy, and then you can go and do those happy things. So I love,
Exactly.
yeah, absolutely. Self knowledge, I think, is one of the most powerful things in the world that I don't think people talk about enough. Like in terms of everything, people are more peaceful when they know themselves. They're happier. They're just, yeah, so I love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you wanted to share at all before we wrap up?
Yeah, and I think maybe just this, expanding on that, like, yeah, it's very hard to do that when you're in the day to day. Like when you have your personal responsibilities, when you have your professional, like they're so overwhelming at times. And so you really have to force yourself to create that space. And I don't think you can kind of like, okay, let me just take a staycation and, carve some time to, write in journals and stuff. I mean, I'm sure there's still some benefit to that, but if you really want to immerse yourself to carve out time and experience that will push your limits so you do actually learn more about yourself and become surprised about yourself, I think, yeah, the Yugo trips are perfect for that.
I love it. And yeah, I fully agree. I mean, it's why do what I do, but because
Mhm.
I talk about that, like people will be like, oh, I'm just going to sign up with a coach. And I'm like, yeah, and you're going to coach and you're going to take the phone calls probably from your couch or from your office, which just has the same perspective. And it's really, really hard to truly think about like possibilities and other ways of being and just learning about yourself from the comfort of your couch.
Mhm.
So yeah, like going away, a group of new people, contributing, working hard under the hot sun or wherever it is, and having those and travel just makes you so ripe for transformation. And then when you have that, like all your senses are heightened, everything, and then to have the coaching prompts and exercises that just kind of help to crack you open that little bit more. I'm a big believer, obviously, in all of that. So I super love that you mention it because yeah, I think if you really want to shake things up and get a real sense of yourself, it's almost like getting away from yourself and your life and your routine and your familiar is what creates a space for you to just be and be somewhere different. So you notice the changes. So you notice what's coming up.
Yeah.
So thank you. Thank you so, so much. Obviously, it was such an incredible trip and hopefully you'll join us for another one. And yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time today.
Well, thanks for offering me the time and sharing my experience with you, Jill.
Well, thank you so, so much, Beena. Aggressively grateful.
Yes, of course. I should have mentioned that I have an aggressively grateful journal.
I love that. Awesome. Well, thank you.